Make sure to check out all of our authors on social media. You can find links to their profiles in the description box. Make sure to follow so you don't miss any bookish updates. I think first we should introduce ourselves. So I'm Amy Prokopis. I'm a young adult author. Oh my gosh. I wrote the book The Arena, which came out in March, and I am super excited. This is my very first episode of Wednesdays with Writers. So I would love to welcome the lovely Rolynn Nevels.
Hi, yeah. So my name is Rolynn Nevels. I am a recent author. I just published my first novel. It's also YA. It came out in November of last year. And I currently live in Georgia, although I am originally from California. So, I mean, both states are cool, but Georgia's kind of is better. We won't tell them though. It's fine.
We'll keep it between us.
Right. Just the two of us know that. But let's see what else. I have a bachelor's in film and digital media.
Oh my god!
So I work on film sets.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Is that why Georgia is kind of the place for you now?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
What kind of films do you work on?
I've mostly done like Lifetime. I've done a few, I guess, larger budgets. You could say, so like BET or like MGM, that kind of thing, but like mostly Lifetime, because
oh my gosh,
it's fun actually working on Lifetime films.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I think it's just the storyteller in me though. I love film, and I've always loved the idea of like working in film too. I mean, the dream is always like, I want to be like a really successful author, but the dream would be to like be optioned and have a film made of your book and to be involved. That is so cool.
Yeah. Oh it's hard work, I will say, because like physically and mentally it gets you sometimes, because it's like 12 hours or more shifts, you know?
Gosh, I bet.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But you know, overall you do meet some really cool people, and you get to connect with them. So it's like, I know in that aspect, it's really nice. And of course you meet, you know, actors and stuff. So you're like, okay, this is really cool.
Oh my gosh. Who have you met that you've been like just starstruck by? Have you met anyone that's been like amazing?
Oh, I mean, most recently I met Eliza Taylor and Bob Morley. I don't know if you watched the show The 100, but they're from there. And I was obsessed with that show.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Yeah, it is good. So I was
so
like,
cool.
I know, and they're so sweet and so down to earth, and it was just like a blessing to meet them. Because they were like so modest about it too. They were like, "Oh, I don't know if you like heard of the show," and I was like,
"Of course,
I've heard of the show."
Oh my god!
I was like, "Of course."
So cool.
Yeah. So I think them, and then of course I've met like Sylvester Stallone in Crossing. It was actually quite funny. His stunt double was dressed up as him, and I was so used to it that I was like, "Oh, that's not the real guy." And then he like waved, and I was like, and then another PA came up to me and was like, "Dude, Sylvester just waved at you." And I was like, "That was the real one." I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would probably have done something totally like stupid and embarrassing if it was me and I was meeting someone like that. I probably would have completely embarrassed myself.
No, it's okay. I've seen it happen. And I've done it too. Because like I would come on sets, and don't tell anyone this, but I usually don't read the script, so I have no clue what I'm doing. Like I don't know who's going to be there or what. I just show up, right?
Just do what you're told. Do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm there for. So like I like showed up on one set, and Jill Scott was there, and I was just like, and I kept staring at her, and I was like, "You need to stop staring at her. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's so weird. Don't do it." And I kept staring at her, and then finally she was just like, "Hi," and I was like, "Words. What are words?
Yes, what are words?
What are words?"
So speaking of words, what is your like writing journey? Because we all kind of have we've all kind of gotten here in our own ways. And I know we're both newbies, so we both have pretty recent books out and YA too. So we have quite a bit in common there. So how was your journey to publication in writing? I guess writing in general.
Writing in general. Yeah. So it was a long road, I would say, because the story for Breathless came to me in a dream while I was still in high school.
Oh, wow. And so it's been a while then.
Yeah, it's been a while. And and if you read it, you kind of I could tell, it came from a high school minor.
It's young adult.
It's young adult. So it fits.
It comes with the territory.
Exactly. That just proves I had a high school mind, so it fits. But it was interesting too, because of publication, it was I wrote the story, I thought it was ready, and I was, reaching out to traditional publishers, and, you get those rejections, and then you go back and you revise your work and you look through it and you try to figure out what can you do better, but then it just kept happening. So then finally I just set it aside. I revisited the book in college, and then while I was in college, I started searching for, I was either deciding to do indie publishing or a hybrid. I don't know if you know what hybrids are.
I looked into it a little bit when I started publishing too.
Yeah.
So I'm familiar. Mm-hmm. But what was your experience with that? So what did you decide from there?
So from there, I decided to do the hybrid only because I was a newbie, and the idea of publishing by myself was overwhelming.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, so it's I was maybe I should just give it to someone else to do, and I'll just sit here and look pretty, I'll let them do it. So that's what I went with, and I think when you do decide to let another publisher, publish your book, you retain all the rights, which is good. So, down the road, if you decide hey, this should be a movie or a TV show, you have the rights, and everyone comes to you, which is really exciting. But definitely do your research and who you pick as your publisher, because you want someone who's in your corner, who is going to market, because with hybrid publishing, it's basically as if you were publishing by yourself.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
And that's what it looked like when I looked into it too. So I went ahead and I self-published my book, because I kind of decided at that point I wanted a little more of that control. I was kind of paranoid I had heard a couple horror stories about authors being cut out of all the decisions. So I went ahead and did it myself, but I also feel kind of like you, it would have been nice to just sit and look pretty while somebody else makes those big decisions.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, because it is nerve-wracking.
Yeah. So you might have to teach me about self-publishing, because I think I definitely want later in life to the following books to do that, because it's about the same. You're just paying someone up front to publish your work. So
pretty much.
Yeah. So definitely, I think in today's world, self-publishing,
yeah, it's not what it used to be. When we were in high school, self-publishing was it had such a reputation of being the reject store a little bit. It's those books that you would read online on Wattpad or something, and they're not really good, but they're out there. And now it's not that way at all. It's a serious business for some people, and it's opened a lot of doors for authors that might get overlooked because they don't have a great big name behind them or a huge following. So that's, I guess, how I got into it. Was I didn't have a whole lot of a following, but writing has always been something I wanted to do since I was itty bitty. I've always been writing stories, and I definitely have some kind of like you from high school that I had put out there in the world for traditional and didn't get much back, and as a response. And then over the pandemic, I was teaching. I was a high school teacher at that time.
Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. I love being with the high school kids. I mean, they're definitely our demographic for books, so that's super helpful.
Right.
But I was teaching at the time, and then the pandemic hit, and so we were all online, and suddenly I had a little bit more free time in my schedule, and I wrote The Arena kind of on a whim to try something new. And I decided that it would be a perfect project to experiment with a little bit. So that's why I tried self-publishing. And now that I've gotten into it and have seen like all three options a little bit and researched more, I don't know if I would go traditional unless I end up like, unless the books really take off and suddenly like, yeah, it's a big production. It'd be super helpful to have people behind me, but I kind of liked the marketing and the production part more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
So
like
I don't know if I go
control.
traditional now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you do, with traditional, like you do have those people in your corner, but you lose a lot of control, you know?
Yeah.
I heard, well, I was actually talking to another author and they were like, yeah, I had this idea for my book cover and then all of a sudden they just did this. And I was like, oh, okay. You know?
No.
And I was like, oh no. And then someone else said they changed their book title. And so their reviews were like, oh, it's not about that.
Oh my
and
God.
then the author's like, of course it's not. And I'm like, that's horrible.
Well, it was another podcast. I was listening to a podcast where Sarah Sutton was a guest. I don't know if you know her super well, but she's a young adult romance author. She's on YouTube. She'll be on in July on this chat forum, I guess. She'll be on in July. But she had kind of a similar experience where she put out a query for traditional publishing and she got picked up by an agent and they kept putting her off. And a whole year later comes around and they decided they're not going to publish her book. And they told her, we decided we're not going to publish your book. And I thought, that's horrible. Can you imagine having like like in the works for a whole year and suddenly it not being in the works anymore?
Yeah.
And I know it's not all the traditional publishing is that way. I mean, I would gather that most of it is like positive for people, but I do kind of like the control aspect, and maybe that's just us being newbies though.
Right. And we're like, it's our babies still, you know?
It is. It's our babies. It's our first ones we're putting out into the world. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. Yeah. So have you always been like writing stories and such too?
Oh, absolutely. A huge world builder.
I love that part.
That's my favorite part. Researching is like, yes.
I love the world building and the character backstories, especially like half of it's not going to be in the book, right? But I know exactly what that person's childhood was like, even though you'll never know it.
Exactly.
It's fun.
Like just giving like little nuggets, so then your reader's like, oh, something did happen to them. You're like, but you'll never know because it can't fit in the book,
right?
You know,
I think it makes such a big difference.
Oh,
I think when you read a book, you can tell how much backstory and background work the author has done.
Yeah, and it's funny too because like I'm such a pantser.
Me too.
You are. Yeah.
We have a whole lot in common, Rolynn.
Like I do try to do outlines. Like my new work in progress, I actually had an outline and I was sort of following it. But then every time I went back to read my outline, I was like, oh, that's not the same as what I just wrote.
That's what I do too, every single time. And I've tried so many methods and I do have some, I'm doing better. I do have kind of an outline system that does kind of work for me now. It's pretty loose. I use the 7-point plot format, which is kind of like the big plot mountain, except there's little itty bitty plots within, like plot turn here or a pinch point where like things get tense. It kind of works because I only have to outline 7 things.
Right.
But still I totally go off script by the third act of the book. I'm usually off script.
Right. And that's the thing too, because I want to be like a screenwriter, right? So I'm such a pantser. So when I was in school, my professors would be like, no, you have to have your turning point here. You know, you have to inciting incident here. And I'm like, but it could just be so different. Like it could just flow, you know? And they're like, no, it has to be a certain way because movies are made a certain way. Like if you look at every action movie, they always had a point, like within the first 5 to 10 minutes, something bad happens to the main character, you know, and you're thrust into the story. Well, books should start off like that too. So it's like, well, they should, you know, we're the authors.
Ideally.
Right, ideally, you know, first 5 pages or whatever. But yeah, so oh my gosh, yeah, I've always been a writer since I was little. I have tons of random princess stories, you know, dragon stories, giant stories, like just sitting in my, like, I have like a box of just like, and they're old paper too, because it's like when I was little.
Like, they're like crinkled and stuff.
Yeah, crinkled, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, you know, they're just in there just chilling, but you know, it's fun.
Yeah, I have the same box. I could never get rid of any of them, even though some of them are terrible and will never come out of that box. They'll never leave that box, but I definitely have the same background.
Oh yeah. No, it's so cool. Yeah, we're so similar. I'm like,
we are.
Yeah.
So what is it you're working on now? Have you like released any information about that yet that you want to talk about, or is it still kind of like hush hush?
Oh, so I mean, I can say what I'm working on. I guess I just won't give like book titles, you know, but like, it's just, you know, of course it's I have like so many books, but like, so I finished the second book to Breathless. It just needs to be edited, I guess. And then we need to start the process of marketing and, you know, then getting it published and all that stuff. And then, but this really, I'm excited for this other series, if you can tell. It's like, it has dragons in it.
I love a dragon.
It's always the dragons. I love dragons. I
also have a dragon story I'm dying to write, but that one won't be for a little while. So I'm living vicariously through you and your dragons.
Oh, thanks. I mean, honestly, it'll be a couple years. What I wanted to do with like, which sounded cool to me, was like if I release like Breathless and then I released the first book to the Dragon series and then I went back to the second book, you know, so it's like in between you weren't so like you weren't waiting so much for like, you know, the sequel to Breathless, because of course that's going to take a while. So it's like you can have both, you know, worlds, you know.
That's true.
And but the thing about the Dragon ones, I think it's going to be new adult, only because they're not high school and it takes place in the future. And we do have like mature conversations, but I'm like a clean writer.
Yeah.
Like, so it's nothing like that, you know, no spice. I don't do spice.
Yeah. No spice.
No spice.
Just things that like adults would encounter necessarily in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I love it because there's tons of dragons, tons of death, which is new to me because I'm that happy person and I'm like, no one should die.
Oh my gosh.
But with this book, I'm like, just off, you know, just knock them off. It's fine.
Oh my gosh. Turn it into George R.R. Martin. Going all Game of Thrones.
Oh,
I love that. I love fantasy. That's definitely my like bread and butter. The arena was kind of a departure for me. It's sci-fi, which is still not so far off, but it's not like my usual wheelhouse. So it's kind of interesting. It's funny to me that my first book was like so far
off
from like my norm. So my new book is fantasy. This one will be young adult, but I do have some later projects kind of in the same world that are new adult also for the same reason. But this one will be fantasy, like urban fantasy. It's set in a teeny tiny Colorado town with teenagers. So there's teen drama. And the hook of it is that my main character, who's like the bookish, like top of the class kind of girl, wants to be a lawyer, but it's her last year of high school and she wants to make it something. She wants to do something different. She's always been like in the background and she wants to really like have volition and control of the senior year. So she goes to her first high school party and gets into a car accident that should have killed her. But instead she wakes up and she finds out that she has survived by like supernatural means. And now she's a part of this kind of underground circle of immortal people that are there to guard a gate, kind of like the gate to hell, essentially. Like Yeah, like it's
oh my gosh,
kind of
this sounds so good.
inspired. So it's super fun. It's been, I wrote it a while back. It was well before the pandemic ever happened. So it's kind of been it's one of those kind of like breathless that it's been like a hot minute since I've gone through and edited it, but I'm super excited. So
oh my gosh. No, that sounds amazing. I need a copy.
Yes,
because I'm a huge sci-fi fantasy buff.
I want a copy of yours too.
Thank you. Yeah. So, actually,
we'll definitely have to swap.
Yeah. Obviously.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. No, I was shocked when you said Colorado because Breathless takes place in Colorado too.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is so weird. We're too in sync right now.
We really are. It is a little like creepy.
Right.
I get a lot of my inspiration from like the outdoors and nature though. So I spent a lot of my summers growing up in Colorado. I'm not from Colorado, but I live a couple states over. So we would go up every summer to do the outdoorsy, the hiking thing, the camping. So I get a lot of inspiration from nature. I don't know, where do you get your inspiration for stories? Is there any like kind of place or like mindset?
Literally, I'm just sleeping. I know that sounds so weird, but I like have these vivid dreams. Like I've always had vivid dreams, and I would wake up and then I'd rush to my journal. I'm like, oh, this would be a really, really good book.
Oh my gosh.
And so like, actually, like this is like my journal, and it's like it's thick, but it's filled with like details of like all the books and like just random dreams, and majority of them I'm like, oh yeah, that's my next book, you know. So and then I think other times I am walking, you know, because I do like to walk at the park. So then something like, especially, you know, you have writer's block and you can't figure out like a plot hole that you made because we're pantsers.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
So we're like, oh, how do I fix this? You know, so I go on a walk, and then next thing you know, like, there it is. I got it. Then you just rush home and you fix it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man. I used to keep a physical journal like that too, because I would figure out the plot hole when I was out somewhere random, like sitting in a waiting office at the doctor's or something. And I've gotten to where like there were times I wouldn't have the journal with me. So now I keep a lot of notes on my phone. I definitely have like a journal app that's only book ideas, and I go back to them sometimes and go, what in the world? That's the worst idea ever. Don't write that one.
You never know. Like a part of it could be something.
You're right.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. It might work out.
Yes.
It might work out.
So do you have any plans to write anything like that's not fantasy? Or I guess you said you're kind of moving into the new adult realm, which is definitely like a genre that didn't exist a few years ago. And now with like self-publishing, it's a whole like valid category online.
Yes.
So that's interesting too. But do you have any plans for anything like outside of fantasy and those genres?
Yeah, because Breathless is like, I mean, it has fantasy elements, but I think it would be considered sci-fi just because they you know, they have powers, there's technology used. But like far as the future goes, oh my gosh, it's crazy because I am so unromantic, but I'm going to try my hand at a romance book. We're going to see how that goes.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're going to see.
I'm the same way. I've never considered myself like a romance writer, but when I look back at my project, there's always a romance in them. There's always some characters that are getting together or have a little thing between them, like chemistry at least. It's not the main plot, but they always have a thing. And so I kind of would like to try writing an actual romance book too and make it the main plot just to see
how it goes.
See how that would go. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like growing up, I was always like, whenever I read a book that was mostly like sci-fi or fantasy, and then the romance would take over, I'm like, that's not what the story's about. Yeah, she's trying to fight dragons, like let her live, you know. And so I was like, oh, if I write a book, it's gonna be just about the main action, you know, because like especially with in like my mind, I'm like, if you're trying not to like kill people around you because you just discovered you have powers, the last thing on your mind is whether a guy likes you or not. Like you're like,
so right.
It's like, I'm trying not to kill people here, you know, like I don't care if you like me or not, you know. So like, I mean, that's what basically Jules is going through. That's the main character of my book. She's just like, because she can control air now, so she's just like, I'm trying not to choke people. Because within the first 5 minutes of her getting her gift, she choked her teacher. So,
oh yeah.
So I was like, yeah. So that's the last thing on her mind.
Oh my gosh.
Is whether or not a boy likes her. So yes. I keep it simple, but of course, if you do read the book, it's like there is elements of chemistry, but it's not like the main focus. You know.
Have we talked much about? I don't know. Did we get a synopsis for Breathless yet? I know you've mentioned it.
Oh, yeah. I can give one. I don't.
Yeah.
This is me. I suck at marketing.
I swear, blurbs and summaries are the hardest thing to write. It's like, I wrote a whole 300-page book. Why can I not write a paragraph about what it's about?
Yes, because it's like, you want to add so much stuff. Yeah. But you have so little space, and you're like, okay, what's the best information to leave in? Yeah. You know?
And what do you take out and give away? It's
because you don't want to give too much away.
Yeah, and like, but you want some kind of hook there.
It's actually funny you said that, because actually, like pretty soon, like within a couple of weeks, Breathless is actually going to get like a new look. So the blurb would change anyways. So I will give you a copy of that, like just to have, you know.
Oh, I would love that. That's
cool. I can send it to you. Like,
oh my gosh, I'll have to send you a copy of The Arena too.
Please. Cool. And sign it, please.
Yes. Same to you. I want to sign a copy too.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my I'll do that, because yours sounds so good. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh, it's so much fun. Oh my gosh.
I know. I'm like, thanks for having me. This is really cool. Okay. Let me see if I can talk about it. Obviously.
Give me your best pitch.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. All right. So let me see if I can stop smiling for a second.
Oh, I know. My cheeks hurt.
Right? My cheeks hurt too. Oh my God. Okay. All right. So Breathless. Okay. So Breathless is about Jules Stellar, who is a senior. You know, so she's going through her normal senior routine of deciding whether she wants to go to college or find a new career, you know. Basically, she's in school. I had pitched this before, and then now I suck on the spotlight. But let me see. Okay. But anyway, so basically, Jules, you know, she's living her normal life in Colorado. Everything is fine until, you know, she starts having these intense pains and headaches. And, you know, she's wondering why she's having, you know, these episodes. And then she goes home, and there's this random mysterious woman dressed in all red. And she's like, hey, you're not all human. And she's like, excuse me? She's like, you're modified. You're part of a secret civilization called her fashion. And we're responsible for creating every cure, vaccine, cream, any ointment that humans use to cure illnesses, cuts, bruises, sickness. We're responsible for that. And so she's like, okay, so why am I involved in this? And you know, the lady in red is like, basically, you and 6 other humans, like teens, will be tasked with fighting against the Scourgers. And the Scourgers created the disease, like every disease you ever known, they've created it. I'm Ashen's were responsible for it. So they basically, there's like a evil force, you know, back and forth, good versus evil. And so she's thrust into the fight, and she has to figure out how to, you know, coexist with this new world while also trying not to, you know, lose control of her powers. And you just see her like, you know, this push and pull, you know, internal, external conflict that she has of like trying to stay focused and just solve all these battles that she's going through, while also internally, you know, figuring herself out, her life out, and like staying in control. But yeah, there's like tons of battles. There's tons of practicing, which is like simulated, which is like my favorite part because they go through a ton of simulations. So I don't know if you've ever like seen like movies where they're like in a dorm room and then it goes and it looks real. So it's like they have tons of practices like that where they're like fighting random sporters. Yeah.
Here's the action.
Yeah. So and sporters are basically monsters. And they range in size and creature like. Some, run on all fours. Others look like mist, and I guess I didn't say like the part. But anyways, so like basically she controls air. The other 6, you have one that controls light, fire, water, plants, and then you have one that can control earth material, so rocks, minerals, that stuff. But my favorite person, his name is Octavian. He controls like animals, and he can also transform into them. So any animal you think of, he can transform into it. So he's like the coolest one there, I think.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's just,
that's so
tons
fun.
of made up names in the book, but don't worry, I give a little cheat sheet in the front of the book so you guys know how to pronounce it.
So fun. Our main characters would totally get along. We need Jules and Tori need to be best friends.
Yes. We have to do some. We could do like a crossover.
To write a crossover or something.
Yes. Like a multiverse thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
That could totally work out too.
It could. I mean, because she has supernatural beings. Like,
yes.
That's
kind of
also
like a similar theme.
Yeah. And they're both in Colorado.
Yeah.
No.
Well, we're actually running short on our time. We've got about 5 minutes left. So I think we're going to have to wrap up. But this has been so much fun. Yeah. I think we definitely like kindled a friendship. We're definitely going to have to stay connected. And I'm definitely sending my book to you.
Same.
Yes. I'll sign it and everything. I'll get you a copy. I'm super excited for your new project though. Do you have kind of like an estimate of when that'll be out?
Yeah, so I don't have a real estimate. I would like it to become like what year are we in? That's a good question. 2022.
Oh my gosh.
I know I'm that bad. I wanted to like maybe by like 2025 or 2026.
Okay.
Just because like they're so moving, like this to me, that the Dragon series is so big to me that I'm like, I want it to like.
You want to do it justice.
Yeah, absolutely.
From like, it takes time.
Yeah, it does.
It does take time to write it well.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully, yeah.
Well, I'll definitely be looking out for that and your new website because you have new website coming soon. So is there like do you have like what is it called that you want to insert so people can find you and that's up?
Yeah, so when it's up, it's just actually going to just be my name, Rolynn Nevels, but minus one N, so it doesn't look like a bunch of humps. Yeah.
Yes, so, I had one of those maiden names, so I know what you mean.
It's like too many of them.
Just all in a line right there.
Right. All right. Yeah, so it'll just be my name. And then actually on the website, you'll be able to pre-order like the updated version of Breathless. So actually, I want to send you the updated version.
That's super exciting. Okay,
because it's gonna have like
get it to me. I'm gonna post it all over online for you.
Oh, bless you!
I'll tag you in it.
Thank you.
I can't wait to read it. It does sound. It's right up my alley. I'm so excited.
Oh, thank you. Yours too. I mean, I'm obsessed with sci-fi. So I'm like, Darina, that's such a good title.
We're going to have to swap. This will be so much fun. Well, thanks for joining me. This has been so much fun. I'll put all of the links to our social medias and stuff in the description. Okay. Rolynn, I'll send you a link to this on YouTube when that gets posted on Wednesday. But thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
All right. I think that's about it. Thanks for joining me. I'll talk to you super soon.
Yes. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.